So the first question I wanted to ask you is in regards to what are the top 1% performers, CEOs, maybe even people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, what are they doing that other people wouldn't know about?
I think they have a health management structure. Like the same way the ultra high net worth are doing wealth diversification into portfolios, the ultra elite are doing the same kind of concept, except they're separating the ways that they measure and also, let's say, optimize their health through diagnostic models and data as well. So diagnostics, MRI is a very important one because most of them are just trying to eliminate the worst case scenario. So that would be like cancer, any kind of neurodegenerative disease, and also any structural abnormalities can be picked up through the imaging. Outside of that, like things like cancer screening, the worst case situation just has to be removed first and foremost for these people, because my opinion is that most successful people will always be able to succeed as long as the worst case doesn't happen, right? Because you've already accumulated so much intellect, capital, labor, systems that really you just can't make big mistakes, right? So once you have that, the rest of them is like the pieces that kind of reinforce it. So blood panels are very popular, but beyond that, there's like epigenetics and genetics that are also really good predicting mechanisms of what's going on with your biology. So biological aging is predicted through epigenetics. Genetics itself can be a predisposition that you might have towards something. You mentioned that, there might be structural abnormalities. Well, there's also like certain types of genetic coding, SNPs, that would be useful for either preventing or let's say preventing certain types of cancers. So if we understand genetics and we understand whether the cards you're dealt with are going to either, let's say, promote or decrease the likelihood of certain types of cancers, we could then build a management approach for you to be able to, let's say, avoid a melanoma or like lung cancer or stuff like that. And this is good predictive behavior, by the way, because then if you have a higher likelihood of having a lung cancer, you definitely shouldn't be smoking. You definitely need to be not in a like air environment that you're constantly inhaling carcinogens. Or if you are at least, then what are you doing to manage it? The next level of that is kind of optimization. Actually, I do want to add one more layer, because this is pretty much what we do for our testing for our clients. One of the biggest hidden health risks is toxin exposure. So why do a lot of these dysfunctions occur?
And is that specifically, I know a lot of people suffer with like mold exposure, right?
Yeah. So we test for mycotoxins, which is mold. We test for heavy metals, environmental carcinogens. So that could be plastics. It could also be pesticides or any other like organic based residues that don't interact with our biology, like organophosphates, for example. Glyphosate is an example of that as well. What else? Heavy metals, plastics, metals. When you have that kind of indication, those are all disruptive to your normal human biology. So they kind of interrupt your enzymatic or metabolic pathways. All of a sudden, instead of being able to detoxify something, the enzyme, the machine that would usually be able to operate properly gets dysfunctional, right? So this is, for example, what would be a good one? So the fact that if you're drinking alcohol, if the alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme gets blocked up because of a toxin exposure, then you're not able to metabolize it. Also genetically, this could be driven as well. So yeah, environmental interactions can really compromise how our biology handles our environment. And that's because we're not supposed to be bringing plastics in our body, right? Our biology never got adapted to it. It's a new world product. And one of the things we see is like, it's interesting, we could go down this rabbit hole, but when somebody has plastic, it inhibits the estrone metabolic pathway and pushes the metabolite into a genotoxic variant of estrogen that promotes cancer or promotes like certain type of fat accumulation behavior, right? It's not good. It's not a good outcome that we want to create, right?
And is that why some people say if you've got high, like as a guy, if you've got high levels of estrogen, you're more likely to store higher amounts of body fat?
Yeah, yeah, because there's a few different reasons for this, and it's kind of, again, based upon our genetic expressions and environmental interactions. But if you're carrying a lot of fat, what might be happening is either the enzyme that's being, it's either it's usually an enzymatic dysfunction. Test your BPA. Like that's the first thing we do. And we've had like very, very correlative outcomes where we understand this individual carries estrogen. You know, like there's a kind of, Charles Poliquin, I think, did it, where they do like these testing around skin fold measurement. Yeah, caliber. What's it called?
Is it caliper testing?
Yeah, exactly. So your hormones kind of interact with your body in different areas, right? So cortisol, visceral fat, for example. So people with big bellies will have like high levels of cortisol on average. But yeah, like estrogen usually carries around the chest area. It gives you the love handles. Bro, like when we test like our clients for why estrogen is high, usually there is that, or why their body composition is a certain way, we hypothesize it's estrogen. Even if their estrogen levels are normal, when we do deeper like testing of the metabolites of estrogen, we usually consistently see that the negative estrogen is high. So you could kind of like circle back on like the symptom of the individual, and we're going a little bit off track, but the symptom of the individual to the data that presents that symptom as well. The ultra high net worth, the ultra elites, they're looking at what data they could collect to make sure that their vitality, their biological expression is maintained the highest it can be. So deeper diagnostics, like I mentioned, is something that we really promote because we consider it like risk diversification and risk management.
With everything you just said there, what do you think is the likelihood that people's life expectancy, say you're someone who's got money and you've got knowledge, can live to 120 plus?
I would love to live to 200. So
it's a better answer.
Mm-hmm. I think that aging is a combination of interactions with the environment that are detrimental to us and certain biological signaling that just gets turned off over time. For example, growth hormone decreases. That's a major regenerative property. Stem cell depletion occurs. NAD decreases, which is a major outcome of mitochondrial or energy production. No energy, no regeneration. So if we have two things, one, to eliminate the wrong signal from coming into our body, and also a way to signal our body to regenerate the right structural components, then I believe that there has to be this way for us to be completely regenerative over time. The argument would be that why did we evolve from like a one cell organism to now being these human conscious creatures having this conversation? It's a set of biological signals that were, fed with nutrients and with like, let's say just development. And we got to this place. I would argue that if we can just signal those same properties, and that's what they're trying to do with like anti-aging and longevity research. If we could signal those same things, then there's a high likelihood that we can, reverse or at least maintain a certain biological clock.
Do you think you can almost reverse aging?
I mean, yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, we were going to talk about peptides at one point, but like if you test your epigenetics, we've had like people like increase their telomere length, which is a proxy for, your biological age. So we can also like clearly see people's like skin health and liver markers or, lipid panel improve over time. All of these are indications of like your long-term health prognosis. Then if we could eliminate the risk of, gene mutations or gene dysfunction, and there's research also coming with that. And again, contain either what's it called? Replace or, supply those nutrients through like exogenous use, or be able to figure out how to internally signal it. And I could tell you a very interesting podcast that this guy is doing research on this right now. But if we could turn on the internal signaling mechanisms for our body to just always be able to regenerate our stem cells, or like the exosome vehicles at the very least, then yeah, like why would we collapse? Like that's my dream, is like to explore every country and then by the end of it go to space, like what's the next frontier?
So for me, I just want to be like Peter Pan that never grows up. I just want to stay as I am kind of now for like the next 100 years.
Exactly. Except just make it not an island, make it the Earth, and then after the Earth, make it the universe,
Yeah, that's a good framework.
I don't know if I would want to live that long, but I do have a lot of experiences that I want to create for myself and enjoy. So
now, I'm not going to sound like Stephen Bartlett, but I know a lot of people coming onto our podcast and who are not subscribing but still enjoying the content. If I have one small ask for you, it's please hit the subscribe button. It'll help us a lot. So with what you said there in terms of from like a longevity perspective, is there like certain things you have when clients come to you, like you need to cut this, you need to cut this, you need to cut this? So if I look at like some hot topics for that, might be obviously like basic things like processed foods, but like drinking out of plastic water bottles, like obviously the water here in Dubai is an interesting thing in terms of they remove all the salt from it. So like I try and drink from glass bottles as much as I can. Is there anything you specifically recommend?
All of those. Yeah. Those are very good and important drivers of health dysfunction. I usually suggest data drives decisions. Look, it's also interesting that I cannot tell any single person whether they should eat a certain type of food or not another type of food. I would recommend people stay away from processed food. But like if we're talking about diets, or we're talking about whether that water bottle is more significant of an exposure for you than the air, I would argue that the first thing we have to do is just collect the data. And it's important because when you look at somebody's genetics and when you look at their actual exposure, you'll understand that people are so different, right? We have enzymes that allow us to detoxify different types of things. Each individual has those enzymes turned up or down. And when we understand which ones are up and down, then we can also see the connection to the exposure on their toxin exposures as well. Then you know that, absolutely there's a reason why this person should avoid the water bottle, because the plastic is increased. And the levels in the testing that we've done for them are already, let's say, creating a dysfunctional outcome for them, because we know the likelihood of allowance without dysfunction. Like we know the spectrum where.
What are you testing for to see that, for example?
So our excretion organ is our kidneys, and so all of our toxins are usually pushed out of. Actually, no, there's two. There's our stool or our urine. Those are mostly where our toxins are excreted through. Most of our toxins are going to be like the heavy metals and the plastics and stuff like that. They go through our urine because they get stored in fat, but then our liver goes through detoxification, makes it water soluble, and then they go through our kidneys. Our liver is like one of the most important organs, right? Because it's our filtration system. But yes, we do a urine test, we do a stool test. Stool kind of gives our living toxins, the parasites, funguses, bacterias, and then the kidney kind of gives us the inorganic toxins, so the plastics, heavy metals, and so forth.
So if on someone's blood work, their kidneys are flaring up, that could be a sign of like plastic exposure.
This is a very good point. It's like when we look at blood panels, we're seeing the symptom and the current state, but we don't know the reason why. Right. So a lot of like liver dysfunction, or like if your cystatin C or creatinine is like all over the map. Well, yeah, like mycotoxins, another one, big time toxic equivalent, toxic exposure that would trigger those things to occur. And this is why I would really encourage people as soon as you can go deeper, because the blood panel is your current snapshot of time. You know exactly how your vehicle is roughly built, where it's been and where it's going, but you don't actually know like the interior design. Like you don't know what the occupants are and what their intentions are, right? So like we need to understand, are you filled with like testosterone or are you filled with plastic? Like it's like, or that's a like generalized concept, but there's so many components that are the moving pieces within the vehicle that generate the momentum the vehicle creates.
It's funny you said that about people being filled with testosterone or plastic, because I think some of them are filled with both, but particularly in Dubai. But I think with you mentioned there about people being hyper responders. So I've obviously taken a lot of peptides and whatever else, but I found that I respond to some things like wildfire and other things just do kind of nothing. So I started using MOTC, I think recently. Just seems to be like a fucking hyper responder on that and just getting leaner, losing body weight and without even like trying. So I think it's interesting how for one person something works great and then for another person it's like not so good.
Yeah, like if we look at your mitochondrial genes, then we can have better insight of what's going on. Like what's your COMT like? COMT and MOTC. COMT is an enzyme as well that integrates with like how MOTC is processed within our body. Also your AMP kinase activity. Like this is the thing that's also important. Like this is how we build our nootropic or energy stacks for our clients. If we understand that an individual is gonna respond, so you have like this what's it called, audio dashboard almost, where there's a bunch of switches on it and you could turn the switch up or down to increase the volume, right? Your biology works like that, and it's based upon both structure and genetics, kind of the same thing. But structure, can get dysfunctional through toxin exposures, right? So let me just do a quick side. If the structure is fucked up and you turn that amplitude up, it's gonna cause a lot of noise and it's gonna cause the signal to go the wrong direction. Does that kind of make sense? Like, for example,
I could probably give you a good example of me with this, because I remember Alex Kickel coaches me, and I think I came back from being on holiday in January, and I'd been like sick with like a stomach bug for 5 days, and I was like, this is fucking shit. I'm like lost like 10 pounds and like muscle mass, whatever. I was like, I want to go full bore ahead, do X, Y, Z, and he's like, dude, like you're just super fucking stressed all the time. Like this is the worst thing you could do. You're just trying to like fucking foot on the gas all the time. It's like sometimes you need to like let off, otherwise you're just creating more of a problem for yourself. Now, if you enjoyed this clip and you're a coach, creator, or a business owner and you want help in terms of how to scale your business using ads, AI, content, marketing, a lot of things we talk about on the show, then hit the link at the top line of our description in the YouTube video. You can book on a call with us and we'll walk through the whole process, audit your business, and show you where there's huge opportunities for you to scale.